Hello world, my name is Adrian Adams. I'm the owner, founder and managing director of We Care Homes C.I.C. Who are We Care Homes? We Care Homes are a social care provider who specialise in providing mindful social care to look after young people aged from 12 to 18. Outside of the robust and highly sought after residential support that we provide to our young people, we provide a number of services to other businesses and the community, ranging from consultation to high level training and, most importantly, our in-house framework that we deliver on an outreach basis to numerous organizations and education institutions. Now, this program is called The Road to Damascus, and you'll be hearing much more about this young people rehabilitation program as the podcasts go on. Now, the name of today's podcast is called the We Care Homes Social Capital Podcast. Now, the term social capital refers to a individual, a group of individuals, or a group of organizations working together towards one overall objective. The overall objective that we have is to push forward the quality of supported living and social care throughout the capital, as well as highlighting some of the plights that our young people, both in and out of social care, go through. Now, the term capital with an OL refers to a building where law and legislation are changed and impacted. And we believe, because of the residential nature of what we do, it was right to call our podcast the Social Capital Podcast, because we provide social capital both on a collaborative level as well as on a social care supported housing level. And we believe that it is our conversations like what we're about to have today and the other episodes that you'll witness that will inspire change and further improvement within the social care industry. So, what's our aim? What's our goal? Our goal is to collaborate with innovative, leading individuals and organizations throughout the community, throughout the city, throughout the country, to have important and inspiring and insightful and intimate conversations about what we can do as individuals and as organizations to further the quality of care that is being provided within the social care industry, as well as to shed light on some of the challenges that professionals and organizations are experiencing in the space. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the We Care Homes Social Capital Podcast.
Stay on the grind till I shine in the city where the youngest put their lives on the line. Hey, car man's way too down. Try man shake you down. All my life I grind and hustle, trying to make
Hello,
a pound.
my name is Adrian Adams. I'm the owner and founder of We Care Homes. On today's edition of the Social Capital Podcast, we have a wonderful guest today. Now, I did say we were going to bring in only the best, only the most inspirational and innovative guests. And today we have done no different. With us, we have Natalie Campbell.
Thank you.
Okay, so once again, just to reiterate the purpose of this podcast is for us to have just intimate conversation about things that concern the country, things that concern the capital, and most importantly, things that concern our young people. So what you should get used to is us having fantastic guests like we have today, more often. But what I'd like to do first and foremost with yourself, Natalie, is ask you just really about, how you started childhood, where you grew up and things like that.
So before I say that, I just want to say I love the title name of the podcast, Social Capital.
Thank you.
Because it's so important. Financial capital, social capital, intellectual capital, cultural capital, all of these things, just so important. But we'll get onto that, I'm sure.
For sure.
So childhood, I'm from North West London.
Okay.
On social media today, actually, I posted on someone's LinkedIn post. I did another podcast in North West London.
Okay.
And I said, so proud to have done this podcast in North West London. Someone else said, I'm from North West London, big up. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a t-shirt. Someone else from South London posted and said, I hope you love us just as much. And I was like, I do. But I remember going to the club, because I don't go to the club anymore. and the DJ would never say Northwest London.
Come on.
It was north,
east,
south,
west. Yeah,
east or west.
Yeah.
And it used to hurt my heart because I feel like Northwest needs its
Yeah.
own little spot.
It's
on
its
the map.
own. It's different because Northwest is different to West, but then from the outside you can't.
And
really
it's not
tell.
north.
Yeah, of course.
Northwest has
Yeah,
its own little thing.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of being from Northwest London.
That's good.
From Willesden, and I was raised by my grandparents, so
Okay.
lived between Willesden and Wembley.
Okay.
I, from a really young age, knew that I wanted to be a CEO. So at 15, I was like, right, I need to be a CEO, and this is how I'm going to get there. And how I came to the conclusion of CEO being the thing was 90s hip hop. I was obsessed with the music. I was obsessed with the movement, and you had all of these different labels all of these guys saying, I'm the CEO of this, or I'm the CEO of that. Unfortunately, I can't say the names anymore because they're no longer good people, allegedly. So I really, like, in my heart, felt that level of freedom and the connection to a music that had so much power and ambition and authority. So I was like, right, okay, I'm going to make this happen. And I thought I was going to go into music.
Yeah.
So I was interning at different record labels.
Okay.
On Willesden, Jive Records used to be on Willesden High Road.
Ah.
And so you'd walk past and they would have like Aaliyah's album in the front. And so I was like, it was right there. It was possible. And I got into the Brit School.
Okay. I was unaware.
So I didn't go. So the week before term started, my dad said, I don't think you're going to have a career in the music industry or something. He's like, there's no career in media. Like, stay at sixth form. You've done really well. I'm one of those kids, I could chat all class and then be like, and the teacher say, what's the answer to this? And I'll be like, oh, it's this.
Yeah.
And carry on my conversation. He was like, to just stay at sixth form. And I don't know why, but I thought, I'm going to listen to my dad.
Okay.
So I didn't go. Stayed at sixth form, and I didn't do very well at sixth form. It's the boys. Started liking the boys. But because I wanted to be a CEO, I knew that there was a way that I had to think and behave and operate, and I had to be academic as much as I was distracted by life. And I started working. So I would do a couple of classes and then I'd basically go to work.
Okay.
And I was working in the retail shops in High Street Kensington. One of the brands was called Morgan. It was a 90s high street clothing brand, and I absolutely loved it. I didn't know that working in that Morgan would then become the thing that started my entrepreneurial journey when I got to university.
I see. How so?
So I got to uni. So fast forward, I took a gap year, worked in lots of different places. I loved working. Got to university, decided to go to Lancaster.
Okay.
And I went to Lancaster because I knew I wanted to start a business, and starting a business that would have been significant in London, I just knew it wouldn't happen. It'd either be really expensive or I didn't have the social capital. So I thought, let me go somewhere small. And I actually said this at 17, I want to be a big fish in a small pond. Yeah. That's the sort of stuff I used to say.
Makes sense, yeah, of course.
I was quite precocious when I was young, and got to Lancaster. And for anyone that doesn't know where Lancaster is, it's on the way to Scotland.
So it's really up north.
It's up north.
Yeah, of course.
And it was quite isolating. There weren't that many black people
I can imagine.
at all.
Yeah.
And so it really made me focus in on why I was there. And I literally landed at uni, and the following week I started a business. I started a student magazine focused on entrepreneurship. And I did that because I read Richard Branson's book. Okay. And the first business Richard Branson created was a student newspaper.
Okay.
So I was just following a blueprint of what I was reading. For lots of people, again, to give you context, this is before Facebook existed. Okay. Like, the internet was still AOL dial-up.
Yeah.
So if you wanted knowledge, you had to read. And I was reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich, 1 Minute Millionaire. And for people listening, these books aren't about money. They're about a mindset.
Of course.
And so I was building this mindset whilst also running a business, a newspaper, and studying and being somewhere where you are the only one. Yeah. Meeting other black people, other black women over time, but generally it's not London.
Yeah.
You start to have to build a resilience.
Of course,
and a self-reliance. So fast forward, I go from newspaper to student club nights
Okay.
because there was no R&B.
Ah, there must have been.
And my ears were hurting a lot of the time. The nights were so bad that there was a student club night in a place called Morecambe.
Okay.
Morecambe's on the coast. So everyone gets on this bus because the only way you could get there was this long bus. And I got off and it was so cold. I was like, I don't know if I can go into this club because it's just cold.
Yeah, it's freezing.
I walked into the club and I don't know what music they were playing, but I was like, put me back on the bus. Basically. So, because it was a shuttle,
Yeah.
I was like, look, you need to take me back. I don't care that you're supposed to be here waiting.
Nah.
You need to take me back to university.
It's not for me.
So I was like, let me start some R&B club nights. My aunt is a DJ or was a DJ in Rampage.
Okay.
So
You already
Rampage.
had the connections there already.
Yeah,
It makes
exactly.
sense.
So I started doing that. I was doing things like Lancaster Idol off the back of Pop Idol.
Okay.
And in doing those events, I built up a relationship with my bank manager.
I see.
So back in the day when you had a business account,
course.
you had a relationship
Yeah,
manager.
definitely. The good
And I
times.
said, oh, so good.
Nice
Because
to phone,
you could just, if that,
you know?
it's some little chatbot
Yeah.
telling you about your business. Whereas speaking to this guy, I was like, look, I want to be an entrepreneur. I intend on being a CEO. This is what I'm doing. And he could see money coming into the account. And one day I sat down with him and I was like, look, I want to start a business. I originally thought I was going to start a coffee shop because that wasn't really a thing in Lancaster. And he was like, whatever you want to do when you're ready, come to me. And I ended up choosing to open a Morgan franchise.
Okay.
And I sat down with him and I said, look, I need £100,000 because I want to open this franchise. The other thing I need is to find a shop and a premises.
Yep.
And I need Morgan to say yes. And he was like, look, I'll give you the money if you find a premises and if Morgan say yes.
Okay.
Because this was before the internet, I went to Morgan and said, I've got money. Will you give me a license? And they were like, okay. And then I found a premises and the premises was like, if you've got the money.
Yeah.
So I just
Makes
told
sense.
everyone said yes. And in 6 months, I went from having an idea to opening a clothing franchise just before my 21st birthday.
Look at this. Look at how just out of interest, does that bank manager still exist? Because I have one or two franchise ideas. All right, just have to
I
check,
wish,
have to
yeah.
check. But you know why what you said resounded with me so much, especially with regards to like hip hop and things like that, is because when you're young, you need to be able to visualize something.
Yeah.
You need to be able to like dream of something in the distance. And watching a lot of these, just the way the music industry was developing at that time, it gave a lot of people something to hope towards. And I think for me as well, like I always had a father figure. I always had my dad in my life, my parents in my life and stuff like that. But there's always a bit of a generational gap.
Yeah.
And I found that there were certain artists that I used to listen to that really used to give me, or just draw a picture for me of how life could be later on.
Yeah.
So for me, when you said how like maybe hip hop sort of inspired you to become an entrepreneur, I definitely could relate to that. My question now is though, how do we get from the franchise to Blue Water? Because I read some stuff about Blue Water and I'm very interested to get into that.
So I believe a lot in serendipity, and I always say the universe doesn't make any mistakes. And I ran Morgan whilst I was in my last year of university. And when I graduated, I thought I was going to open more Morgans, but I decided to come back to London and start working in a government campaign to get more students to start their own businesses.
Okay.
And because I was doing it, I was the graduate entrepreneur talking about graduate entrepreneurship. One day I was on the train and I opened the Evening Standard and I saw 700 jobs go as Morgan declares bankruptcy.
Oh.
The business that I'd put all of this money, energy, time into disappeared overnight. And when a franchise group goes into administration, as a franchisee, there's no one for you to call because they call in the administrators.
Okay.
The administrators don't talk to you because you're one of thousands of people that are owed money. And so I had to figure out what to do. And I decided to take a week off work, go back to Lancaster, rebrand the store, buy new stock. And I learnt my first lesson in business, which is cash flow is queen. I spent all of my money rebranding the shop. And people didn't know why the shop they walked into on Mondays in Morgan was called DM on Friday. And it didn't work. And it hurt.
I can imagine.
It hurt. Because it's all I ever wanted to be.
Of course.
And even though I was back in London doing something else, for me, I was still the entrepreneur. So I had to pick myself up, say, right, I'm going to pay off a huge amount of debt. So I had to pay off £50,000 worth of debt.
Imagine.
That makes you hustle.
Of course.
Because you got debt to pay off.
Yeah.
And at that point, my graduate salary was £21,000. I was living at home. And I was like, right, okay. And I started creating businesses. So I was consulting, like just weird and wonderful stuff. And that journey of exploring what else is out there led me to join boards. Okay. So I joined my first board when I was 22, 23.
Okay.
Of an organisation called the British Youth Council. They only have young trustees.
Yes, I've heard of them.
Yeah, amazing organisation. But all of the trustees have to be under the age of 25.
Okay.
And I became their vice chair, campaigns and communications. So a senior role within, the organisation. I didn't even know what trustee was.
Yeah, of course.
But I knew that I could do campaigns and communications. And if I basically say my career has just built in that way.
Yeah, yeah.
I do stuff, I see gaps, I get involved, I apply for things, they're amazing, I do the next thing. I started my own agency called A Very Good Company, which I ran for 7 years.
I like the name. It's simple,
does what
but
it says on the
effective.
tin.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Tin. But in 2011, people didn't get it. So I'd go to the reception of an organisation and I'd say, I work for a very good company. And they'd
What's
say,
the company called?
Yeah. And I'd be like, no, it's called
A Very Good Company. Yeah, yeah.
Whereas now it's more commonplace because people get it from branding perspective.
Yeah.
But in 2011, they were like, what?
You're ahead of your time.
Ahead of my time.
Yeah.
And I loved consulting because our focus was on doing things to make the world better, but using business as that force for good. Businesses have a huge role to play in making society better.
100%.
And I think that probably sparked my journey towards Baloo. In between, before getting to Baloo, I worked for the Royal Foundation.
Okay.
And in that role, I was the Director of Insight and Innovation. So working with the Royals, as we know, to come up with plans to support them deliver against the ambitions that they had. So around the environment or supporting women post the Grenfell tragedy.
Yeah.
And it showed me just how important it was for me to get back to my roots of being in the community and direct connection to impact. Whereas at A Very Good Company, I was working through a business to then do the work on the other side. So then I saw the role at Baloo come up and I applied. And lots of people think once you get to a certain point, stuff comes to you.
Yeah.
No, you have to apply. You still have to apply. So I applied, I interviewed, and I got the job. And Baloo is an amazing business because we give all of our profits away.
Okay.
The year that I joined, that was £1 million to Water Aid, so £1 million profit. But I joined just as we went into the pandemic. And we're a B2B only, hospitality, workplace-focused business.
The timing
disappeared.
Yeah.
Literally, revenue disappeared. But I'd learned all of these skills. So if I go back to Morgan, the business failed because of cash flow.
Of course.
And across your life, all of these lessons, you build up a resilience. I call it apprenticing myself. I'm always an apprentice.
I hear that.
So I'd apprentice myself to that moment. So I didn't panic. I was like, I know what to do. You work with and through people. You get back to what's real. If everyone goes back to that moment in March 2020, you're like, well, this is killing people.
Yep.
You have to look out, you know, check in with family, with friends. And so that grounding of it's a job and I want to make sure that Baloo still exists. But the reality is this is happening to everyone.
Yeah.
And it's big.
Of course.
And so that was, for me, was a really grounding moment and a moment in my career where I got to really lean into how do you do well, how do you make money, and how do you do good, both within the organization and then in the external world in a way that I hadn't really done before with me at the helm. I would always been part of a team or working through an organization.
I feel like it's even just in a way that maybe like mainstream education couldn't have even showed you because it's like life experiences. And the stuff that you were saying about apprenticing, I relate to that so much because I've always been an apprentice on the inside, and you know, prior to my previous life, in terms of like the skills that I was using at that point and the skills that I was able to transfer into this, I often say to a lot of the young people, my talent is being able to fail. Because a lot of people can't really come back from failure. But me, I'll wallow in self-pity for like maybe 24, 40 hours.
Yeah.
Let me just, you know what I mean? After that though, I'm back.
Yeah.
You know, so then for me, I often say to them, like, We Care Homes is like the 7th business that I ever attempted to do. So if you just think of that on like ratios, if I'm going to do another business, I need to fail 6 more times before I get the 7th one. But that's...
But I think we should stay with that point for a minute there, right? So if you unpack what you were saying a bit more, who we are and the DNA of growing up working class, around the estates, around situations where sometimes it's life or death.
Yeah.
I don't think we realize in those moments that getting through those moments is the resilience that means you can walk into a big business, you can walk into a corporate. There's not really much they can say to you because I'm alive.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to me.
Exactly.
There's no situation in this room. There's no intimidation sitting around this table because, first of all, I'm Jamaican. So, I mean, there's already a DNA pattern then. But I've got 6 brothers and a sister. You know, there's a whole scenario of a big family where it's like, this is not... There's no imposter syndrome around. Exactly. It's light work. Yeah. And I think we should own that and lean into it a lot more. Yeah.
I only just started leaning into that, you know. Before, I would think, I would have that imposter syndrome and think, I don't belong in these rooms. Yeah. And these people who are talking about this and that, what if they realise what I used to do? At one time, without going into too much detail, I did an interview on Sky News. And then in my previous life, when I had to do community service, you know, I had a little bit more ignorance than I did today. So, and the person who was my probation officer at the time ended up becoming like a high manager in like the probationary services by the time I'd done the interview. So when I did the interview about certain things we were doing, that person sent off emails and was like, what? This guy here? They said, no, he's from this area there and he's affiliated with these people. And yeah, I know them people. And yeah, maybe we grew up together, but there's such a thing as change, you know? Yeah. And I feel like there's no manual for that. So a lot of our people get into scenarios that maybe were built for them that they deserve to be in, but there's no manual to show people you deserve to be here. All of those things, I used to hide and shy away from it. But now, like you said, you've got to lean into it because that's what makes us authentic.
It's your superpower.
Yeah, definitely.
It's our superpower.
Yeah. Because it's like, there's no weapons on the table. There's no one trying to attack you. It's just people, some of whom are from a different demographic, that want to have a conversation. So for me, I like that, and I think that, like you said, it's a superpower that I wanna teach to a lot of our young people. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Ofsted are taking over the social care industry, and one thing that they're some of the stuff they're doing, you know, I'm sure about, but one thing they're trying or they're pushing is that we as social care providers need to promote resilience amongst our young people, and I feel like that's where our pathways cross, because we've got a course or an internal framework that we do within the placement for any of our young people that are in education, and we refer to it as the road to Damascus. And part of the program, the first half is to really try and help the young people understand their adverse childhood experiences. Is for us to deconstruct some of their negative behaviours, and then the second half is for us to reconstruct and replace those negative behaviours with positive behaviours against the context of entrepreneurship. And the reason why I really felt like the program was so important is because there are certain skills that entrepreneurship can teach you that your general day-to-day education is not going to teach you.
Never.
So it's like when I was looking into obviously some of the stuff that you're doing at the moment in terms of with education or with the universities, I found it really inspiring. And I don't believe in coincidences because I didn't actually know about this before we had arranged to meet. So I was looking at it and I was like, okay. So then one thing I wanted to know is how the Chancellor of Westminster University came around, because I've been doing my research and I saw a couple of the speeches and stuff like that. So please, could you tell us a bit more about that?
I really like being called the Chancellor. We had an event, we did a private screening of One Love last Friday.
Okay, yeah.
And it's such an honour to be able to stand on stage and say, I'm Jamaican.
Of course.
I'm the Chancellor. And on the tube on the way home, a woman's coming down the stairs, she's like, are you the chance? I was like, yes.
Yes, that's
Yes,
me.
I am.
Can I ask, when it's one out of 1 to 10, how did you find the movie? Because
So-
I've seen some feedbacks, but I'm not sure.
So I loved the movie
Okay.
because the movie is underpinned by the music.
Okay.
And I get why people say they don't love the movie, because there was also a panel debate of people that knew him
Okay.
afterwards. The tea that they were dropping, like
I-
it was
I
the
saw some
old
clips.
guys.
Mm.
I was like, you lot are just dropping.
Would he be happy with you lot letting everybody know about this?
I'm
But
like,
yeah, I saw
wow.
it, yeah.
So I get why people are upset. But if you love the music,
Yeah.
and for me, at a time of going into politics,
course.
the message of the movie,
Uh-huh.
sometimes the messenger, I was just like, yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, so at least it conveyed the energy that it needed to convey.
It conveyed the energy. I liked that it talks about his time in London. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there were people missing from the story. Yes, it was supposed to be about a love story, whatever.
Yeah.
If you appreciate his music
Yeah.
and you appreciate his message
Yeah.
and you appreciate the time, as in what was going on in Jamaica at that time,
Yeah.
you can't not appreciate the movie being out.
Yeah, like the political environment, and I think it's Ciaga or something.
Yeah,
all that,
and Manley. Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
That title, or that election, and all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah.
See, I haven't watched the movie, but I watched the documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
And when the detail they was going into, I said, I need to go and watch this movie. But then I saw some feedback about it. But we digress.
Anyway,
Yes. So, Chancellor of Westminster.
Yes. So that one, I was invited to join. And so go back to social capital.
Yeah.
The pro-chancellor
Yeah.
of the University of Westminster. So you have a vice-chancellor, chancellor and pro-chancellor.
Okay.
The pro-chancellor is the chair of the board.
Okay.
So that is the board, the entity that run the governance of the university.
Okay.
The vice-chancellor is the CEO.
I'm with you.
I am an ambassadorial figurehead.
Mm-hmm.
The pro-chancellor I was on a board with,
Mm-hmm.
an organisation called Unlimited, about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My timeline's a bit blurry pre-pandemic. It's pre-pandemic or post-pandemic life.
Mm-hmm.
And she said when she was thinking about who would be good, she wanted a social entrepreneur. She wanted someone that could connect with students. She wanted someone that would bring a different sort of energy, someone that had a relationship and connection to business,
Yep.
sustainable development goals. And my name popped into her head.
Immediately.
And it must have been, I must have made an impression around that boardroom table. And,
Okay.
board meetings don't happen that often. They
Yeah.
happen 4 to 6, maybe 8 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So in 8 meetings over a period of years, she put up enough of a picture of me to say
Okay.
she would be a good chancellor. And so we had a conversation, and I met the Vice-Chancellor, Peter Bonfield, Professor Peter Bonfield, and we just connected. We connected on sustainable development goals. We connected on inclusion. We connected on the idea that businesses could be doing so much more for a student population. And I was like, this feels right.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it my way.
Okay.
So I'm not going to come in and just wave.
Yes.
I need to do something
Yeah.
to make a difference.
I like it because I saw the speech and I was like, you said some stuff. Some of the stuff you said, one thing that caught my eye was you said something about purpose. And obviously, if purpose is the main driver, that you can push forward the whole field, or the whole whichever the endeavor is. And I was thinking, once again, why it resounded with us, because in the program, that's one thing that we try to push, purpose, because you can do something for the sake of doing it, or you can do it for a purpose.
Yeah.
And we try to show all of our young people that they have a purpose and they have a value. But in terms of what you said about sustainable development, one of the things or the issues that I found with our program that we delivered is I just self-financed it just from the organization. And I was like, what I want to do is I want to show that we can deliver the program, not just in the houses, but outside as well.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, I went to the college and I said, give us your hardest to reach young people, and I want to show you that we can work with them. So we delivered this 16-week program, and a lot of these young people didn't even used to come to their classes. But after school on a Thursday from 5 to 8, they will come and sit down with us and we'll work towards the course. Now, in that college, there's a lady who works a lot with those young people that were hard to reach. And she was like, listen, these are like my babies. So I need you to really understand that there needs to be a legacy off the back of this because all they're doing is talking about this program, but there has to be a legacy. So their idea was to create a trainer upselling company whereby people can donate the trainers that they don't want. They can clean it, refurbish it, and then sell it at the market. So we do monthly pop-up shops at different markets in the area. They've actually got a pop-up shop tomorrow. So they're called Step Correct for anybody that wants to look into them. Step Correct _ on Instagram. But literally what they do, like, I've watched them become like so amazing in terms of their knowledge or their just desire to want to know more and understand more. But it was mad because it was very heartbreaking to watch what they were going through in their normal day-to-day lives whilst we were doing the program. So a lot of them were dealing with homelessness, family friction. We had a young person, I can't really sort of say too much, but it showed me that there's a demographic of young people that should be known to social care that are not. And because they're not known to social care, when they're dealing with the things that some of the young people that are in social care are dealing with, we're powerless to help them. So I was like, I wish I could just self-finance something else that could just really continue to support them. So whilst we was on the program, 2 of our young people got stabbed. And even just the other day, one of them called me and he was like, listen, I'm not even from your side of London. I come from my side of London to that college because in my area, it's mad for me. So he was like, they stabbed me the other day. I'm alive, but I think I need somewhere to stay. So you got any spare rooms? And I had to explain to him, you know, safeguarding and things like that. I'm not in that position, but it made me go back to the college just to be like, is there anything we can do for them? Like, what can we do? And I was told they themselves aren't in the position because they haven't got the funding to do so. So then it lit a small fire inside me, which was like, you know, I'd love to be able to collaborate.
It's lighting a fire inside of me. I'm like, what can I do?
Honestly, it was because these are the things that give me they mess up my evening. I toss and turn in the nighttime because I'm just like, nah, this is mad. And I really wanted to support him and just support them because I know what they're going through. And as much as they still come to the pop-up shops and they're going to come tomorrow and stuff like that, after what happens, when they go to their area, what happens? The reason why the residential support that we provide is so good is because we can be there at 8, 7 o'clock in the morning to wake you up or 6 in the evening to help you with dinner. But if you know, you go back home and, you know, your parents aren't there or things like that, it's more difficult. And I was like, I would love to be able to scale something like this so that we can have the whole wrap around with regards to the residential nature, but also with regards to the educational aspect because...
Say no more.
Yeah.
May 2nd.
Yeah? What's understood ain't got to be said. What's understood ain't got to be said. But then, what you're saying about just the development aspect and the sustainable development, I really liked it. And once again, you see a lot of people in government start something that they don't finish. So for that to be one of your mandates, so to speak, I find it very encouraging, very encouraging.
So just, you know, listening to you there, and for me, this is really important to say this, that story is not something that for me is happening over there. That's a story of how my brother felt. That's a story of how the boys I grew up with felt. I was very lucky in that living with my grandparents, like my family home is still my family home. My granddad only passed away November before last. So that grounding has always been there. And I would say the young people that are called hard to reach, I just say they're underloved.
Of course.
Not unloved, but underloved.
Yep, for sure.
And, you know, politicians have tried before to have this conversation. They're like, oh, is this the hug a hoodie scheme? I'm like, do you know what? There's something in that though. We write off young people who have their whole lives ahead of them. Hopefully, more life ahead of them than I have. And so to say, that's it for them. To say that's it for someone who's 14 or 15 or 6. Like, how? How did you get to that conclusion?
It's ridiculous.
We know that a small thing can change the course of so many lives, but yet we don't invest in just doing that thing. And right now we're in a place of system says no. Or we're in a place of it's not the sexy thing to do politically, so we're not going to do it. It's the right thing to do.
Of course.
Who cares about the Daily Mail headline? And so for me, we haven't got onto this, but running as an independent candidate for Mayor of London, my boss is the people. My boss isn't the party. My boss isn't the newspaper. It's the people. I don't do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I won't get voted back in. So I have to show up to my job and do my work. And I think London judges a mayor based on how people are living, and people are not living well.
They're not at all. They're not. I've got a lot of examples of young people not living well, and it's a thing where it's stressful to witness. But I like what you said about the independent nature of your journey, especially when you're running, because it's almost like you are your own boss, to the extent where you look to the people as, you know, the people that, you know, to guide your decision making. And in comparison to other people that might be backed by like large multinational companies or investors and things like that.
Well, not even that, also unions. And, you know, I don't want to make this political at all.
Yeah.
But people always say if there's money, then it must be bad, evil corporate money. There's money that's coming from collectives that's also self-interested. So you have to be fair and look across the board. Money coming from a union has its own self-interest too.
I can imagine.
So be fair when you're calling out where your funding is coming from.
Yeah, you see, and these are the things, because I was in a meeting with the teacher from that college just yesterday, and she was like, listen, I'm really getting towards the end of my tether. I've been doing this for 15 years. The system is not set up to help. I think
just seen resources dwindle, just having
all of that. And she's like, we're being judged on the attendance rates of our young people, but they're not realizing that our young people are dealing with some real stuff outside. So sometimes they can't come to school. Sometimes they've got reasons that they adequate reasons why they can't come, but because of the metric that we're being assessed on, we're at risk of losing a lot of funding and a lot of support. So I was just thinking, you know what? If I ever get a chance to be in a position to do so, I would love to just be able to provide something that challenges the status quo of like, come to school here and there and go home and we're done with it. Something that just, it's a whole 360 of everything. So you're being educated here, but we're also pouring into you here. You also have a safe environment here, all in one space. But
so did you know that the mayor has responsibility for all post-16 education?
I had no idea.
And has the budget for all post-16 education. So outside of schools, and even then the current mayor can fund academies. Post-16, FE, that's the mayor. That's not central government. That's the mayor.
Well, that's interesting, because, you know, in local authorities, they've got something called virtual schools. So I'm not sure if that's from the mayor or if that's just... I know there's a legal right for every young person from over 16 to have a certain number of education hours per week. And what they tend to do is offer at-home tutoring. But once again, you've got people that have kinesthetic learning styles or different other learning styles that sitting down with somebody and it's not really going to work for them. So to be able to, I don't know if the mayor has got access to that.
But the mayor, when I'm mayor, will create a strategy. Post-16 life, what's the journey? And what are the options for how you go from being 16 to living a life fulfilled? And it has to be a 360 look at all of the things that a young person needs. I don't know. So I grew up, I didn't have EMA. So the education, the maintenance grants. I know so many people like I would have not have got through college if it wasn't for that.
Mate, I would have been the biggest street pharmacist the city has ever seen. Do you know? I would have been, mad. That
was the difference. And it was £40 a week?
30 when it was me. So, you see me, I'm a bit like, I've got an addictive personality. So when I start researching stuff, I just go deep into the rabbit hole. So then, I'm not sure if it was the same video or another video, you're walking down a path. I don't know where you was.
Talking out my ideas.
I said, you know what? Whoever the director was, they did it well. But then you was like, about 50-something% of people didn't even vote. I'm interested to find out your perspective of how much of that demographic were young people, for example, and also how you would mobilize them people this time around to vote.
So I want to come to the video first, because this is really important.
Of course.
So I am running this campaign almost as a one-woman show.
Okay.
Self-funding, but I'm working with the best freelancers that I can find. So that video was shot by a graduate of the University of Westminster who filmed my installation video. And when you say the director was me.
Okay.
So I was like, look, Riaz,
Big up Riaz, by the way.
Big up Riaz. I'm someone who walks and thinks, and I want to show how my thought process, but I'm going to just talk it out loud as we're walking. So you're going to have to walk backwards.
I was thinking that.
Whilst I'm walking, but we look at the frame. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start here. Let's check the frame. So I study broadcast journalism.
Okay, so
there's also a thing of like I'm slightly obsessed with sort of how things look.
Where was the microphone? Because it was so clear. I was thinking, is the microphone underneath her neck? Or was it above her head?
It was.
No, it's proper. No, it's good. It's good.
And so, skills. I'm a broadcast journalist. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked in the political space. All of these things are building to make sure that I have everything in my toolkit to do what I'm doing now. None of this is by accident, people. I need everything you're doing. At some point, the apprenticing yourself will come together for that moment when you need to be ready to do the thing. Definitely. So I just wanted to say that.
No, for sure. I agree.
So 58% of Londoners did not vote.
Yeah.
The majority of that 58 are 18 to 30. They're women and they're people of colour.
Okay.
The majority is also working class if you put the socioeconomics into it.
Okay.
From what I have gathered from conversations, that group do not vote because they do not feel like politics represents them or does anything for them.
Yeah.
And it's a chicken and egg because the political parties get the data and say, this group doesn't vote. Why talk to them? Because they're not going to vote for us. And so you just go in this cycle of not voting, not listening, no policies, not voting. So what I want to do with this campaign, but in also winning, is show that the 58% are active.
Yeah, of course.
We're passionate.
Definitely.
We care. We're doing the work in spite or regardless of the system helping. And that's from entrepreneurship right through to caring in our own communities.
For sure.
But it shouldn't be that way. And if the 58% show up and vote on the 2nd of May, I win this thing clear. I only need 1.5 million votes. And everyone's like, oh, it's really hard. When someone does a trainer drop or a jacket drop on Instagram, that's 1 million people buying it. So Grace Beverly did a post. She is an influencer with a clothing brand called Tatala. She did a post and she was like, 1 million jackets sold in the first hour. If 1 million people can wake up and buy a jacket, and maybe it was global sales or whatever, if 1 million people can do that, 1 million people can get up, 1.5 million people can get up and vote on the 2nd of May.
Imagine.
There's 1.2 million black women in London. Let's do some maths. So when you start to break down each community, it's not an impossible figure. And let's go back to the business mindset. If you know you need to start a business and you've got 6 months to change your life, you figure out a way.
Of course, some sort of strategy. Wow.
You just... So I was going to say, but beyond strategy, I think the word is...
a methodology, a plan, I've used up a lot of my English today.
But no, it's not, it's something from within.
Yeah.
Like it's a compulsion.
Okay, I'm with that. I like that word.
So I'm compelled each day to get up and put one foot in front of the other to win this.
Definitely.
And therefore the ideas of what I need to do. So then the methodology and the strategy, the clarity is there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, if I need to get to 1.5 million, what's the other thing? So what are the yeses? I need to get on the ballot. So I need 330 people to nominate me to get onto the ballot. If that doesn't happen, I can't get to the point of people being able to vote for me.
Okay.
So focusing in on the really important things. No one's going to vote for me if I don't have a manifesto.
Yep.
So then once you've got those, that's the core. Then when you go to the compulsion, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Show up with your why.
That's it.
What I believe is people are buying the why of what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're buying what they're not seeing, which is someone that cares. I was going to swear. I'm trying to clean up my language.
Same.
And that's the difference. So it's not, yes, I have to be strategic. Yes, I have to have a methodology, but I am compelled to serve. I am compelled to do this. And then the plan sort of falls into place from that.
Of course, I think you get that. You was getting that message across, and I keep forgetting the name of the lady that was interviewing
Vanessa.
me. Vanessa, lovely lady. She said, Londoners show up when they believe you're not just talking. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But in the stuff that you were saying, like I see stuff on TV that I really want to change and impact, and I think that people, especially in London, you have to have survival skills, and one of them survival skills needs to be you need to be able to judge character well.
Yeah.
So I like to believe that when people see like the compulsion in like behind what you're trying to do, I think that I know that that's going to be one of the key factors towards them sort of voting in your direction.
Thank you.
One thing that I did see, and I guess this might be my final question. You said something about showing up as your best self. And I think that's something, because we work with a lot of young people who have been through like adverse childhood experiences, sometimes, you have different sides of yourself, and you could be dealing with some traumatic situations that, might come to the surface.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to make a decision as to what form of yourself to show up as. I would like to ask what advice you would give to young people who may be battling some form of traumatic, past, on how they can show up as their best version of themselves each and every day.
Yeah. Acknowledge your trauma. So I have always spoken to my teams about shadow sides. Who are you on your worst day? And why are you that person on your worst day?
For sure.
And depending on what life was like growing up, that is a light question or it's a heavy question. But it's really important to know that, because if you start to see your shadow side come through and you can see the triggers, you can quiet it down.
For sure.
Or you can talk to it, and move yourself to a different place. How did I get to a place of being able to say that? I've had therapy.
Yeah.
I love me some therapy. Therapy and coaching.
100%.
All day. And I have therapy before I need therapy.
Yeah. It's much more effective that way.
So you go when you're good.
Yeah.
Go when you're good.
Yeah.
Not when you're in the middle of
You're
it.
in the storm and you need an answer.
Because you don't have clarity.
Yeah.
And I mean that literally and figuratively. You don't have the clarity. And so when I know I'm about to go through a period of change, I go to therapy or I get a coach. I'd say this is the only time that I haven't done it, but it goes back to the compulsion. I am so sure of what I'm doing right now, it doesn't feel like a change.
Okay.
It feels like a continuation of a journey I've just been on.
I'm with that.
So understanding your shadow sides and understanding that, your trauma, again, can be your superpower, because it's going to give you a resilience in a different room. It's going to give you a resilience to keep going when many others would have stopped, would have failed, would have turned to drugs, would have turned to drink, would have become that bad guy, would have become that bad person, but you managed to still be a good guy, still be a nice person. That's what I would say.
That's an amazing piece of advice, and I feel like I wish I was filming it off my phone so I could show it to the young person I'm going to be seeing tomorrow, because I think that, once again, it's really easy to be ashamed of your trauma, and to think that it's something that is not a badge of honor that you should wear on your sleeve, because at the end of the day, these are the things that make us, and these are the things that differentiate us from others.
You're a survivor.
This is it.
There's honor. There's honor in being in survival. Honestly,
and I used to think, let's hide it, but when you hide those distinguishing things about yourself, you just fade into the background, and that's not what we're here for. So as much as you said the number of people and of demographics that you're trying to reach.
58%.
Yeah, so to our 7,128 followers on Instagram, we need you to show up on May the 2nd.
May the 2nd.
Yeah, okay, so we want that.
Well, no, so pre-step, you have to register to vote.
Oh, yeah.
So they've changed the system.
You see, and was anybody even aware of that? We wasn't aware of that, so please enlighten us.
So if your parents were registered to vote and you lived in their household, you were automatically registered from the point of turning 18.
Okay.
They changed it, so now you have to independently register yourself.
My parents were so if my parents were... So for those people who moved out of home or...
So if you moved out of home, you still need to check. Just because you get a council tax bill doesn't mean that you're registered to vote.
You see, but they want to take the money though, but they don't want to... Let us. Okay.
So you need to check you're registered to vote, and it's a really quick email. You just put in your details, and it will send you a confirmation.
Yeah.
And then to vote, you now need ID. Whereas before, to vote, you just pitched up and went, "That's my name." Now you need ID. So driver's license, passport. If you haven't got either of those, there are certain IDs that you can apply for online. And what they're doing in the year of the election is giving away those IDs for free.
I see. Okay, cool. I was thinking that was a bit of a barrier.
Yeah, because I think it's usually £15, but this year it's free, especially if you're under the age of 25.
Okay. So that's good for a lot of our young people as well, the ones that are 18 and above.
And then on the 2nd of May, even if it's the apocalypse outside and the hailstones are coming down, you need to go and vote.
We need to come out. Guys. So we want to see you on the 2nd of May at your local voting poll.
Yeah, so they're usually in primary schools. I'm trying to start a movement to get them in colleges and universities, because if the polling stations were in places that young people go or walk past, you'd go in and vote.
I'm surprised they're not already at universities already.
It's all by design.
You see? If
you don't want people to vote,
what's stopping that from happening, from getting them put in universities?
So it's twofold. The system isn't going to go to universities and say, have some polling stations. So the universities have to basically say, we want to be a polling station.
And is Westminster going to do that?
So I'm very pleased to say that journey is in progress.
That's what we like.
But we need colleges to do it as well.
Yeah.
We need other spaces. So any public building can be a polling station.
Okay.
So a youth club could be a polling station.
That's very interesting because we do work with a couple of schools and we've got a good relationship with Greenwich University as well. So off camera, I'll be happy to sort of try and see if we can make some connections there.
Thank you.
Before we end, if you could give anybody information on how they could reach you or see you on social media, just so they've got all of your social media information and stuff.
So my website is teamcampbell.london, really simple. On Instagram, it's teamcampbell_London or Natalie D. Campbell, and the same on TikTok, Facebook, and pretty much all of the socials other than Twitch, because I don't understand that one.
Neither do I, to be honest with you, but we've done as much as we can. You know, that's the main thing. Okay, well, guys, there you have it. It's been a wonderful and insightful conversation. Please make sure you get out to the voting stations on the 2nd of May. And once again, thank you very much, Natalie, for joining us. We really appreciate it.